Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles. You're listening to Lyles Movie Files. Don't have a full episode this week. It's Thanksgiving. Everybody's going all over, getting a lot of turkey, stuffing, etc., etc. Hope wherever you are, you're going to have a great Thanksgiving as well. Now, part of your Thanksgiving plans for this weekend definitely needs to include seeing Creed 2. I had the pleasure of speaking with director Steven Caple Jr. and co-star Florian Munteanu, who plays Big Nasty, or who's Big Nasty in the MMA fighting world. He plays Victor Drago, Ivan Drago's son. I got to talk to him about Creed 2, about everything that you're going to see in the film. Not too many spoilers, so maybe you want to see it after you've seen, or listen to it after you've seen the movie. But it's a really good one. Those guys are super cool, and I hope you guys enjoy the film, and I hope you also enjoy this interview. So I love the movie.
Did you? Oh,
yeah, I really loved it.
I'm glad. It means a lot. No, legit. Like I keep telling everybody, we just finished the film on Friday, so you guys are like the first people to check it out. So like I'm hearing it as we're talking. I'm like, cool, people dig it. You know
because the first one was one that kind of came out of nowhere, but it was like, wow, this is so good, and there's a lot of expectation for the sequel. Did you guys feel any pressure with that?
No, we both did. Him coming back as a Drago and him being a newcomer, and then me being a newcomer as a director. I think there was a lot of pressure behind both of us ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I had it in me. The most pressure that I felt is not letting Steven and Mike and the whole cast down, because they gave me the chance, and you can't take this chance for granted. So
I think you kind of narrowed down on that, so you won't be sidetracked by all the commotion around. So I stay away from a lot of the material online just because I don't want to catch myself trying to fulfill everyone's expectations and not be there for the talent. So when we all were on the same page, you start to realize that what's really important is those small scenes that are like intimate and personal and like that make the movie what it is. And then you add your little sauce when it comes to the fighting and how you display things. So I don't get caught up in like, you rewatch the entire franchise, of course, saying what did they do right, what person did it wrong, what do I want to do different, you know what I mean? And you're finding those little windows where you're like, okay, it's 8 of them, so there's like a few windows you can pick, like I can do something here that they didn't do there. Or what did Ryan do in that fight? Okay, he did that. Yeah, I remember they did that in Raging Bull. What did they do in Raging Bull? You know what I mean? Like you find yourself trying to like have a mix of things, and some things work and some don't. And so I'm thankful MGM, Sly, Mike, you guys putting the work to like really try new things and fail with me at that, you know what I mean? And find out what goal we have, you know?
This was kind of unusual because it felt like it was 2 sequels in one. We had the continuation of the story from Rocky 4.
That's the hard part.
Which was awesome. And I think like people my age, that's their Rocky when they think of Rocky, like, hey, the USA versus Russia. And then you've got the sequel to Creed. How did you kind of balance those 2 films and kind of catering to fans of both franchises in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it, so it's like a lot of it was just intercutting and finding it on paper first, but really making sure that there is a story on this side to give you that feel. Because if he was just Drago, I must break you and that's it, and they ain't never had no, him and his dad were on the same page the entire movie, there is no another character that means something to them, I won't say that shows up later in the film, that's a surprise, that, you know, we wanted to feed that, so every time you cut to them, you're entertained, you're like, oh, where are they at, oh, now what they're up to, oh, they're in Philly, oh, it's getting closer to the moment, you know, to kind of make sure that they clash, so you had these 2 storylines going until they finally connect, but meanwhile, underneath that, everyone had a story outside the ring. You know, so that was really the challenge, is like finding what could be interesting for his story that connects at the end of the fight. Tessa's story, Mike's story, Sly's story, Dolph's story, Marianne's story, everybody. No, it's an ensemble piece, so it was like really trying to make sure we hit all the marks, but yet gave people enough of what they wanted. Montage, fight scenes, all that stuff. So,
You know, it was funny to me because I can't recall another movie where there's been a 6'4" guy who I felt sympathetic towards. What did you do to like how to make it like? Because you know we got Big Nasty coming in here, and Michael B. Jordan's 5'11", and it's like I'm looking like this
on a good day. On a
right,
good day.
Yeah.
I'm 6 feet.
Like, and I shouldn't feel sorry for Drago when he goes down, but what did you do to make him a sympathetic villain character?
Well, those credits go to Steven. He created the character. He wanted to not have this typical villain where you just have a killing machine without emotions and that's it. He really wanted to have two sides here, telling a background story of the Drago side, and then actually that was the point. Like, it's not an Ivan 2.0. It's something new. Creed is part of the franchise, but it has its own DNA, right? Same for the villain. It's a new generation, and one of the guys earlier, he compared it to the Black Panther.
Oh yeah, the ending, yeah, Killmonger and
that you kind of have the feeling that you feel for the villain and don't know who to cheer for in the end of the day, and that's what we wanted to create. And his key to success was to deliver real pain. So I was trying with him to connect those bad memories from my personal life, connecting it to the character and to the role, so that I be as authentic as possible in delivering that pain. So people gonna watch it and feel this actual pain. And I mean, it was real crying, it was real pain. We cried a lot together. There was a lot of crying going on during the whole process. And yeah.
Is it tricky in terms of like for you to stage it and for you, because you're actually doing this in real life, to kind of pull your punches? No pun intended, but just like I can't snap Michael B. Jordan's neck here when I'm going with this uppercut. So what is that like for you to kind of lower it down so you're not actually delivering?
I mean, it was a learning process in the beginning to make those punches miss. But I mean, we were training day and night on this choreography, and I think like after maybe 1 or 2 weeks, you got the routine inside your head, and it's, you know, in a movie like that where you have fighting scenes, it's all about trust, because the other one has to know that he's safe, that you're not gonna punch him, and even if I fully extend my punch and swing wildly, he has to trust me that I'm not going to hit him. So it's like a dance. Everybody knows what the other one does and where he moves and stuff like that, and that's why we put in so much work, and I mean like 3 months of preparation for that whole thing.
Yeah.
And for you, like I noticed there were subtle Creed touches. Like there was one scene where Bianca was wearing like an Adrian kind of inspired outfit. I think it was that first fight. And so you had like
Rocky
that,
and Creed.
Rocky. You had that overhead shot where Bianca and
laying down.
Like that was definitely How did you juggle trying to pay homage to those other films and then create your own wrinkles that people maybe for Creed 3 can go, oh yeah, that's what Steven did?
Yeah, I try to grab what stood out in the other films that we can bring back. Like Apollo came out, big entrances. I was like, how do we do that with Creed that's like him still, but not because he's getting into the wrong kind of fight, obviously. So it plays on the fact that he's fighting for the wrong reasons. So the light shows like our design, my design, so to speak. But just to get into that, there's moments where Rocky and Drago are staring each other down in the ring. It's the exact same camera angles used in Rocky 4. The top shot, I remember watching first Creed and being like, I like that shot. And then people picked up on the shot. It was the first time they kissed. So now I'm like, how can we do that when they make up with their baby? So it's like I found the moments in the film that were naturally there because of the plot, and then I went back, you know, with research, obviously, and chose moments from Rocky, the Creed movie, that people responded to and connected. And then when I had my opportunity to, I was like, now let me do my own touch. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that top shot was a nice Creed-esque moment. It's a relationship moment. It's their moment. It's theirs. And so I wanted to give the audience that, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I want to come back and get what I still felt from the first movie, right? But then it's like, but I want more. So then the more is she coming out for the Russia fight singing, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So that's where I found my way to put my own little spin in it, with the fighting being more aggressive. You know, Mike was in Sly was very outside the ring perspective, and the Rocky franchise, Ryan Coogler was inside the ring, steady cam, slower movement and shots, out inside the ring, fast paced energy, no one's taking their time. His fighting technique's a brawler, aggressive, so he does not stop. You know, once he starts, it's over. And vice versa, Mike has to switch it up and get on his level. So there's like boxing technique involved. Those are like little moments that I felt small nuances, and if you caught it, then you saw my take on it. But yeah, that's how I kind of just did the research. And
those corner shots when he was coming, it's like run.
POV shot.
Yeah,
and some of the stuff was from the land too. Like a lot of people didn't see my first feature, but a lot of camera movements and tilts are all from like stuff I did in my first film. I did that a lot with skateboarding, like flipping the camera upside down and just allowing you to be in that space. And so, I try to capture the energy that's naturally there, and make you feel like you're in their seat or with them. That makes sense.
And last question, because I'm
for sure.
about to wrap up. The timing on this one was so interesting because got all this tension right now with
Russia.
Russia.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it's coming full circle. How Rocky IV was. How did you guys decide to? All right, we're not just going to paint Russia as the bad guy, like the evil empire, whatever. How did you make that balance between we're just telling the story?
When people thought that it was with Drago, they immediately went to like Russia. They immediately went like, "Oh, it's about Russia. It's they're gonna be bad guys." And I felt like people had like a bad taste in their mouth. I did too, thinking if that was the concept. But meeting with Sly and talking over the character and being like, "Look, we can add more to these guys, and how we do that, if we take them out of Russia, now we got somewhere to go." You know what I mean? So we took them out of Russia, put them in Ukraine. Why are they in Ukraine? And that gave them this whole story that made their story unique and dimensional, right? So after that, you kind of like challenge yourself to not sit in those norms, because they're so easy to like fall into. You know what I mean? Especially when you're looking at the circle, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm sure you're hitting on this politics," and I'm like, "Nah, we're not ending no war." Like, you watch this movie, bro, it's about like people and like human emotions and relationships, nothing else. I can't say there's no other kind of message. When you get to the end of the movie, you know what the movie's about. You feel like people are thinking about their family, they're thinking about their daughter, they're thinking about their legacy,
their fathers,
so
that was a big piece.
Legit, stuff that I didn't have in my life, stuff that I do have in my life, my relationship with my wife, my messed up relationship with my dad, you know what I'm saying, like all those are implemented inside. So I think people really pull away, at different things and themes in film.
And I really love that scene. Like, one of my favorites is that scene with the dinner, and you and Dolph walk out.
When I run out.
You run out. And he follows after you.
That was intense.
Like that
was an intense day. Dad was yelling in Russian. They don't know Russian, so they learned Russian for the film. And so like they were like, and I just let them at it. You know what I mean? Because they had to get there emotionally and understand what they were saying. One. But two, like, they're athletes, him and Dolph, so like they get mad at each other, right? Like he get mad at himself, like, I missed that line, and then Dolph is getting mad at himself, and so you have all this tension, but like it's two big dudes going at it. So like I remember I'm just like, go for it, you know what I mean? Like get there, flow, and just like talking to you and just let you be. And the same with Dolph, like if y'all mess up, just run right into it, because you guys have the energy, and like we'll just take it to 100 and then we'll find that mellow spot. But like you have to go there, and they were like, again, they're two big dudes, deep voices, so it felt like strong. And so like how do we then pull like that real emotion out? Like these people, man, like they ain't even here for us. And Dolph finally admitting I lost. That was his improv to say it twice. I lost. You know what I mean? And he yells it, but he says it again, like I lost. And you're like, oh damn, like that's a moment. So
we both agreed that this is or was like a key moment for the whole movie, right? Because Mom appears the first time, and I definitely don't want to be in that room. And then the mom comes also, and she joins the group, and I can't really understand why my father is enjoying the company of those people that let him and us down. So that was a key moment. I don't know how many times we rehearsed it and went over which moments I should use from my real life to connect to that scene moment. To make it as painful and authentic as possible. But I think we nailed it in the end.
I definitely do. It was a standout for me.
Appreciate it. It's about the work. I'm just, again, it's so fresh that I'm like, okay, got it, cool.
No,
I'm so close to it, you know what I mean? But we move so fast with creating this project that now I'm able to like step back a little bit, but I still won't be able to step back further to see what it is. But I definitely do my intentions behind every decision I made, and I saw, and there's things I know that worked. Then there's moments that I'm like, oh, this is risky. The Russian dinner table scene when you got your main character, Creed, going through this emotional arc, and you're about to say, hey, hold on, everybody, let's stop this. and go here really quick, you could throw people off. People like, what the this
I
is
think
Creed.
it worked.
And then I think so too. But those are little chances when you're doing a sequel one, and when everyone knows that there's going to be another fight by midpoint of the movie, but you're saying wait, before we get to that fight, people are naturally going through some things, and the fight is sort of secondary. You know what I mean? Like from the jump, we open up with you.
Exactly.
Sleeping and your father punch you in the chest, not in a ring. You know what I mean? We get to the ring eventually, but it's not about that. I want people to see how they walk out the house and their relationship. He's always trailing behind his dad. Dad's always in front. Even during the walkouts, Drago's walking behind his pops. That was the thing that we had. So
and then it ties together at the end.
At the end,
which I don't want to spoil either. Is the intention for it that maybe there's room for it? Because it seemed to wrap a nice bow on the series.
There's always room, man. Okay. There's always room. Let's just say that. But I think we're going to go off of how Creed 2, how people feel about that. And obviously no one wants to overstay their welcome kind of anything, No one wants to overdo it. But if it's a natural story there, Mike is going to always be passionate about it. The team is MGM, the studio. Where we take it, that's another question. Okay. And who's involved, that's another question.
That's another question.
Amara, she got his.
We'll see. Guys, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Appreciate it, bro.
Great talking.
No, same.
Thank you. All right, there you have it. Florian Munteanu, Steven Caple Jr. Creed 2 opens in theaters this Wednesday, November 21st. It is definitely something you need to make sure it's on your calendar to see at some point during Thanksgiving weekend, whether it's opening night, right after you finish chowing down on turkey on Thanksgiving, or need a break from all those crazy shoppers out there on Black Friday, or just when you need something to chill and do on Saturday or Sunday. Thank you again to those guys, and thank you for everybody that made that interview possible. Real quickly, Walking Dead has been great this season. I'm really enjoying what they're doing. I'm really not feeling the CW right now on the Arrowverse. I'm so far behind on every show. It's crazy. This is the first time that's ever happened. Normally I'm right on there watching them day in, day out. And I'm just exciting happens as they get ready for the big Elseworlds crossover. Maybe that'll spark my interest back in it. Something else that's kind of failing to capture my interest right now is the WWE. They had the Survivor Series on Sunday, and I just feel like they're not doing anything creative, interesting, or new anymore. It's the same deal over and over. People complain that when Roman Reigns is on top, it's a Roman Reigns show. And honestly, the only thing changed now is that Roman's not on top. He's away, but it's the same thing. Brock has a stranglehold on the title, and he's never around. And people who are beloved by the fans are turning heels for no reason, and it's kind of weird. And the one guy that I really desperately think needs a heel turn to be interesting with his character is the one guy they refused to turn, and that's Finn Balor, because the return to his Prince Devitt alter ego, even without the demon, would make his run in WWE so much more interesting. We've got Daniel Bryan as a heel, Johnny Gargano as a heel in NXT. I think Gargano's a little bit better on that end, but I'll talk about NXT in a second. I think I'm seeing the tease for the eventual Ronda Rousey heel turn at WrestleMania with Becky Lynch. I finally got a chance to watch that big throwdown, SmackDown, invasion of Raw with the Raw women. That was such a cool moment with Becky Lynch with the blood pouring out of her nose and just warrior match. I still think that they're going to have a crazy, amazing spectacle of a match at WrestleMania. And the way things are booked right now, I don't see how they don't main event WrestleMania, because there's nothing else that is anywhere close to that level. AJ Styles is reportedly about to renew his contract, or he's negotiating his contract, so it may be a deal where when this year ends, he's done and takes a break. Maybe he shows up in Impact and helps out Don Callis and Scott D'Amore turn that promotion around further. Maybe he goes back to New Japan and works a limited schedule, or maybe he even just returns to ROH. Lots of options. Good time to be a free agent for the Phenomenal One. Now, and other phenomenal things, watch NXT TakeOver War Games 2. 2 hours what the main roster is unable or handcuffed and cannot do in double that time. And in this one, we had just some crazy matches as usual. Nothing too outrageous, but the last three really sold the show. Aleister Black versus Johnny Gargano, who's starting to veer down this heel path, and it's kind of interesting watching Gargano play a more sophisticated, subtle heel, because he did one bad thing, but he's still kind of acting like he's the hero. It's kind of a take on that Bret Hart deal back in the late 90s, when he was starting his war with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's pretty cool stuff. And we've also had Velveteen Dream going against the man Tommaso Ciampa, born as to which one is the best wrestler in NXT. Is it Ciampa or is it Gargano? Either way, I don't think you can lose. And then you had the War Games, which was an actual War Games this time. We didn't have the two teams come out all at once. We had the Undisputed Era versus Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and War Machine, or War Raiders. I'm just constantly going to keep calling them War Machine. Anyway, I love this setup. I love the booking, just how they didn't have the War Raiders go last and they split them up, how Dusty used to do with the Road Warriors, where Animal would go in and then Hawk would come in 2 spots or 3 spots after him, so it wasn't just the Road Warriors back to back. Anyway, that was just a subtle thing that I really liked. I liked seeing the Undisputed Era do like some sneaky, underhanded heel tactics, like locking Dunn in with the extra padlock. That was cool. I read online that some people weren't too fond of the weapons and the tables and all that stuff, but I mean, given all the different leeways we see with so many gimmick matches, I'm okay with that. And this feud and the hatred with these guys kind of warranted that in this one for me. But it was really fun. I love that moment when both of the teams were staggered and near death, and it kind of went on opposite sides of the rings and faced off in the middle. That was a cool shot. It's one of those deals that WWE always tries to do on their shows and doesn't, and it always kind of comes off really manufactured. This time it came off cool, and I just loved it. Really good War Games. The only thing that would have made it better would have been buckets and buckets of blood, like the classic 92 one where the Dangerous Alliance took on Sting's Squadron. But in the PG era, that's about as good a War Games as you can get for me. So that's it. I'm done rambling, I guess. Hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving. If you're out there shopping, hopefully you find some great deals on Black Friday through Cyber Monday. And just on a special note, thank you all so much for listening. I pay attention every day, probably too much, all the people who download these shows. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the guys for sticking with me and recording this sucker every week. And I appreciate you all for listening all the time. I'm very grateful and very thankful. So wherever you are, I hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving. And that's it for me. This is Jeffrey Lyles. This episode of Lyles Movie Files has been filed.